driving him?
Love.
Love, right? He's always the one there. So let me ask you a question. What is the other one feeling? They're always late, so...
Anxiety.
What?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. The other side? You think is anxious?
Yes.
Indifference.
Yes. Wait.
Anxiety.
Good. What's your name?
Terry.
Terry?
Yes.
Right, so Terry's saying to us, the other one is almost, this is what I think you're saying, half in.
Yes.
They're not fully in. Because if they were fully in this relationship, they would also be there first. Right? They would actually they would be earlier each time, right? So in other words, and I think it's a very interesting question. In general, there's always someone in the relationship that is more inside and one who's less inside. Right? And he's saying, I'm the lover. I'm the one who loves more because I am fully in this, and the way that I know that is because I am waiting. Love is not actually about relationship. It's actually, right, it's a concept. Love is a concept. It's not really what actually plays out. Right? I'm waiting for a thing, I'm waiting for a person, but really what love is the act of anticipation. That's what you were saying before. That's what love is. I'm dedicated, I'm committed, but even if I get the person, or the day comes, it's almost like anticlimactic. It almost doesn't matter, right? It's like, okay, it happened, but really the thing that I was the emotion was in the waiting, was in the preparation, was the effect. Excellent. I'm really bothered by this because it's very unfair. It means by definition, love will always be unfair, right? And why? Maybe there is love that is mutual, completely mutual, and it's not unfair, and both parties are here, right? I'm sort of disturbed by Bart's perspective. There's something that I get from this waiting. It's not just that I'm waiting and it's like I'm in pain the whole time, but actually the waiting is good for me. I enjoy that. The anticipation is good for me. Okay, the fact, good. Yeah, yes, sir. Tell me your name though.
Carlos.
Carlos?
Yeah.
Okay, I know I said it wrong, but
Yeah,
forgive me. Yeah.
I don't fully agree in the part that, there can be like a mutual relationship, where the two parts, or this utopic relationship where the two parts are willing to commit in the same way or the same intensity, because at the same time they're not loving the same thing, right? So when two people when there's like this relationship, the one person is loving a concept of the other person, or the concept of the relationship, and the other person is loving at the same time his own concept of the relationship and the other person. So they're fully committed. They are there because they're fully committed to their perspective of that relationship.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's like this. I don't like to use this word, but like the good and the bad side of the relationship, where the other one is making the other one wait, or one is making the other one feel guilty about his wait. But at the same time, they're both waiting for their own concept of the relationship, and what ties them together is that some of the ideals of that relationship they match. So I don't know if there's a time where they can get there. Like I don't know if there's something to aspire there as a certain time, or something that will come. It's more like a eternal wait.
Yeah, excellent. So in other words, what I hear you saying, two things I think I hear you saying. One is, it's existential. Waiting is existential. It's not because eventually it will come, but actually this is what defines this relationship. Each one of us, both sides, are waiting existentially, and then there are moments where we come together and we match, but really the inherent nature of this relationship is that we are both waiting, yeah?
Yep.
And it's very interesting what you're saying, because in a way, what I think you're saying is like, actually we're always in a relationship with ourselves. Right? We just maybe are next to the person next, right? And we match sometimes when we come to these points of connection, but really the relationship is about me and myself and how that relates to the other person. Because we're just projecting, right? We're projecting what we think is happening. Really, each of us is having a different experience of that relationship because we're different people. Yeah? Right? That's beautiful, beautiful. We keep talking about the Talmud, but I just want to make sure we all know what that is. So when I say the Talmud, what am I talking about? What is the Talmud?
Big discussion?
Okay, good. Excellent. It's a giant discussion. That's right. That's thousands of pages long. Good. What else?
Is the collection of the oral law related to the written law that was done by the rabbis between the 1st and the 5th century of our religion.
Excellent, beautiful. It's a great explanation and summary. The law is transmitted orally, and then it gets concretized, codified in around the year 220 by Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, Judah the prince, and then the Talmud, or the Gemara, is a series of conversations around the Mishnah. So the Mishnah is the central code, and then later rabbis discuss that code for the next 500 years. Both simultaneously in Eretz Yisrael, in Jerusalem, well, not really Jerusalem, but it's called the Jerusalem Talmud, but it wasn't really taking place in Jerusalem because Jerusalem was destroyed in 70, right? And in Babylonia, which is the Babylonian Talmud. We're going to look at stories that are told to us in the Babylonian Talmud. So between the years 220 and 600-ish, it's a matter of great debate among the scholars, but we'll just say around 600. Those are the stories we're going to look at, but we're going to look at stories that are told in this time that are actually told about the rabbis of the Mishnah. Okay, now what's very interesting about the Talmud, people think that it's simply a code of law, but that's actually the Mishnah. The Talmud is conversation, debates, right? The rabbis are arguing with each other, and they're from different countries and different generations. And it's a cross-communal, so that's why it's just like LIMUD. It's a cross-communal and cross-generational work, okay? And also in there, while we're talking about the law, we're arguing about it, we also tell you stories. And we also tell you stories that are specifically struggling with the questions of halakha, of Jewish law, that we're debating. Okay, everybody with me? Because that was a lot of information I just threw at you. We're okay? Yes. Yes? Questions? No, we're good? You couldn't really ask me anything. We're okay? Everyone's okay? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at, the stories, but we must talk, when you look at a rabbinic story, it's not enough to just look at a story. You have to talk about what are the halachic, the Jewish legal questions that are at play in the story. What are they fighting about? Because in every story, it's not just a nice, beautiful story about a rabbi. It's actually a conversation about how the rabbis dealt with and balanced different issues they were facing. Okay? Everybody with me? Yes? We're good? Yes. Good. Okay. So, I want us to look at source number 1 on your pages because it really is such an amazing story. And then we're going to do some chavruta. Okay? But we'll just put that in your minds for now. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, source number 1. Okay? I'm going to read in English. If the Hebrew is easier for you, feel free. When Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel saw an especially beautiful non-Jewish woman, he praised her and said, "How wondrous are your creations, O God." Okay? Shimon ben Gamliel, just so we know who this is, right? Shimon ben Gamliel lives, he's the second generation after the destruction of the temple. He lives probably around the year 120, 130. And he comes along and he says to us, right, when I see beauty, what do I say?
Praise God.
Praise God. That's right. Jewish, not Jewish, doesn't matter, right? I recognize that there is beauty in everything in the world. And that beauty comes from God. Now, that's, okay, what do we think about that?
Good.
Great, beautiful, perfect, right? Not very controversial.
No.
A little controversial?
So far?
No, so far no. Okay, good. But so too is Rabbi Akiva. Ah, here comes Rabbi Akiva, guys, okay? And Rabbi Akiva lives around, again, the same time period as Shimon ben Gamliel. And you have to understand what is happening in their world, okay, historically. In Akiva and Shimon ben Gamliel's world, the temple has been destroyed for a generation. We are living among the Romans, so it's not so simple what Shimon ben Gamliel said. Because we're living among the Romans and life is bad. Life is not good for us as rabbis among the Romans. The Romans are suspicious of us that we're starting a revolution, because we are. Right? So, it's not for nothing that they have that in their heads, right? But they're suspicious of our revolution, they're suspicious of our religion, they're suspicious of our language, and so it's not so simple as Shimon ben Gamliel said, even when I see a non-Jewish woman, I praise her beauty, because there's something of it that smacks of sort of betrayal of my community, right? Now, look at Akiva, guys, okay? So to the Akiva. Right? When he saw the feminine beauty of the wife of Tinius Rufus, the Roman commissioner in Israel. Okay, so in other words, my arch enemy, we're the rabbis, our arch enemy is Tinius Rufus. By the way, historically, we don't have a person named Tinius Rufus. There's Rufus and there's Phineas, they're not the same person, and it's a very interesting place where history gets sort of molded together in the rabbinic world, but that's another conversation for another day. But the Kitzer, our arch, right, in short, our arch enemy, I see his wife. And Rabbi Akiva does the following. He spits, laughs, and cries. Spits, laughs, and cries. He spits because she too comes from a smelly drop, right? Like every single person comes from smelly drops, okay? Laughed because she would one day convert and marry him. And he wept because it was a shame that such beauty would end up rotting in the grave. So he spits, laughs, and cries. Okay? Rabbi Akiva. This, I hope, is a little bit more spicy. How do I say it? Caliente? Caliente. It's a little more caliente, right? What's happening here? What's happening here? Tell me about this, Lucas.
Well, there's the main difference between the two stories is that the first one is really general. It's a genital woman.
Right?
The second one is a specific woman.
Good.
It's a really well-described character, well,
Right.
not real character, but a really
Right.
well-described character.
Right.
So any discussion will have to, I guess, start with that. One is the general view of women, or anyone, or anything.
Just women, yeah.
But it's-
Great! You're over there, I'm over here, right? I can appreciate your beauty from a distance, right? Akiva says, oh no, this beauty will be mine one day. Right? So what does this teach about Akiva?
She's staring at the future.
Okay, good. Very nice, right? Which is true about Akiva in general. Tell me your name again.
Alfredo.
Alfredo. A beautiful point that Alfredo is saying here, I think is very, very interesting. Two of these are futuristic. One is past, and two are for the future, which is so true about Akiva. There's something very deep here happening in general about Akiva, right? I am not living for today. I'm living for the future. So even though, right now, things are so bad for the Jewish community in Eretz Yisrael, in Israel, right? I don't live here. I happen to be found here. But really, I'm living for the future. And in the future, the wife of our arch enemy is going to be my wife.
He's
And
waiting.
also, what?
He's waiting.
He's waiting. Oh, the fat Talia. Talia? Yeah. Talia says, right, he's waiting, exactly. Which means, right, I don't, it's almost like right now, it's true, it's bad, but I don't have to be stuck here. Right? And in general, Akiva is this guy who can see, he can understand that just what's happening right now, it's not permanent. There is a future, and this is a very important quality of Akiva, right? He's this waiter. Excellent. I will not be chained into right now. The present, what is happening right now, will not chain me. I will not be defined by what's happening. I will always be looking to the future. But what's also amazing there is, right, Akiva, is, but I also can't escape the future. Right? The ultimate future of every single person is that we're going to die. Yeah, so it's amazing because there's a lot of humility in that. There's a lot of hubris, there's a lot of arrogance. Like, I see my arch enemy, right? He's gonna die, I'm gonna marry his wife, and then what's gonna happen? She'll die, and so will I. Adultery is problematic in the breakdown of community. So and actually the whole other side of Aser HaDibrot, right? The first five are Ben Adam LeMakom, right? Between a person and God, and the second half are between a person and person. And there's something destructive in adultery that will break down, right? What is interesting here is that he's not really being transgressing as Akiva because he's actually, right? Because Tina's Rufus is not part of the community. So it won't cause a breakdown in our community. Also, he's not planning to sleep with her right now, right? I think it's important. He knows it's a futuristic issue. But I like that we're so bothered by Akiva here. Good. You should be bothered. This is bothersome. This is problematic. I like it. Excellent. Don't give up on what's bothering you. Later rabbis are writing this story, and they're writing in Masechet Ketubot. Ketubot is like the ketubah, right? The ketubah which we sign when? Marriage, exactly. And the ketubah's job is to list all of the obligations of the husband to the wife. It's all the husband's obligations to his wife. In there, it says clearly that a husband has an obligation to have sex with his wife. One of her biblical rights is sex. Okay? Agree with me? That's her right in the marriage, which means he does not have the ability to refrain. So this story is taking place in a series of 7 stories which discuss, can Talmidei Chachamim, students of Torah, leave their wives to learn Torah? Is it allowed? And for how long is it allowed? Okay? Everybody with me?
Yeah.
And this is important. With their permission. Without go to the yeshiva is a month, 1 month. With their permission, it's a question. Can you go for a year? Can you go for a month? Can you go for 12 years? Can you go for 24 years? That's why it's important later when she says, if he would act according to me, he would go for 12 years. That he said, oh, that's her giving me reshut, her giving me permission. You see, that's his halachic, his Jewish legal reasoning there, when he hears her say that. So that's important, okay? And this is a series of stories that happens like this. So you have to understand there's 2 biblical obligations that are happening at the same time. My biblical obligation to sleep with my wife, and my biblical obligation to learn Torah. You with me? And they're fighting with each other. And these stories they're trying to work out which is more important. My wife lets me go, but I still have this biblical obligation. So how do I balance these 2 values? That's the background for this story. Rabbi Akiva was a shepherd of Ben Kalba Savua. Okay? Rabbi Akiva was source number 3, was the shepherd of this man, Ben Kalba Savua. Anybody want to take a stab at what it means? Kalba?
Kalba se Caleb.
Caleb. What does it mean? Dog. Right? Okay, yes, good. Savua? Satisfied dog. Rabbi Akiva was the shepherd of the son of a satisfied dog. Okay, that's his name. We only ever see Kalba Savua. It's amazing, but he's an incredibly wealthy man. Okay? This has gone very political now. I used to say this all the time. Donald Trump. I know it's political now. But no? Give me a Mexican example of Donald Trump.
Slim.
Okay, there you go. Okay? Very, very wealthy. And we only see him one other place in the entire Talmud where we talk about the siege on Jerusalem, and he was one of the people who kept the city in food and oil and wood. Okay? He's one of them. So that's the only other place we see him at the Talmud. Very, very wealthy man. Okay? The richest man in town. And he has a daughter, like all rich men do, right? He has a daughter. And Akiva is this guy's shepherd. Okay? Everybody with me? Mm-hmm. Now, the daughter sees Akiva. And what does she see about him? What does she notice?
That is modest and noble.
He's modest and noble. Already our alarm bells should be ringing for us, right? Because normally when we talk about someone being modest, who do we talk about?
Moses.
No, I don't mean biblically, I mean in the world.
Beauty.
Simple.
Women. We talk about women being modest, my friends, right? We don't talk about men being modest. We talk about men being humble and women being modest. Okay? So Noah, right? Anav, usually Moshe is described as anav, as humble. But women are normally described as being snuas. So it's very interesting to notice here that we already have, that he's already described, she is the rich one, she is the powerful one, he is the full shepherd, right? She sees that he is tsanua, and that there's something about him, she sees something that's very, very interesting, okay? And then she walks up to him, and she says,
Were I to be
I like
your brother,
I like
I would like
exactly.
to marry you.
Yes. But look at the language here very carefully, because it's very interesting. I mikadshana lach. If I were to be betrothed to you, normally, men don't say this in the room, don't say it. But normally, under the chuppah, what men say to women is, no, don't say it. It's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous sentence. No, I'm just kidding. But, right? Hareat nikudeshet li. Right? That's what men say to women, and when they say that, it affects the marriage. Notice here, I think it's not for nothing, that it's I mikadshana lach. If I were to be betrothed to you, right? Very interesting, sort of, it doesn't work halachically. I'm not trying to say it does, and we can talk about Jewish marriage separately. It doesn't work halachically, I'm not saying that. But she's propositioning him, using the language of kiddushin, the language of betrothal. It's very interesting. So, from the very, very beginning, what can you tell me about this woman? Tell me about her. The very beginning.
Proactive.
Right. Very proactive, that's right. What else? Proactive, what else about her?
Forward thinking.
Very forward, yeah? Very forward thinking. Huh? What else? What else do you tell me?
She doesn't think about herself.
Why?
Visionary.
Because it's mostly because the way we see when we keep reading,
Yeah.
that she thinks about him.
Yeah, in fact, good.
That in marrying him, what she will ask for him to
In
do.
fact.
She's never the first.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you're saying, right? She doesn't think about herself, she thinks about him. She's a visionary, I think it's like chazite, right? She sees him, she can see something here. This woman has sight, right? What? She sees his potential, that's right. And that's classically how the story is taught. That she sees in him something and she's willing to give it. She is the great sacrificer. She's willing to give anything to have this man fulfill his potential. In the relationship, she is here and he is here, right? As the story goes,
it turns the other way around because he totally humiliates her at the end.
Exactly.
He's selfish.
Exactly, right? So let's,
Just because in the end, he told to the community,
yeah.
your Torah, my Torah is very
Good. So that's good. Alfred, you're jumping there, but good. Let's, before we get there, okay? Excellent. Right? So he goes away, and he goes for 12 years, which I don't know why that's true. Who knows how long she said you can go for? She said you can go to the academy, maybe she went a month. This bothers me a lot, he goes for 12 years. We never hear that negotiation happening between them. Maybe she's okay with it, maybe she's not. Right? When he comes home, I love this moment, he comes back to town, okay? He brings 12,000 students. And you know what, my friends? Nobody notices. Nobody notices 12,000 people came to town, and I can't imagine that. Because later, when he comes back with 24,000, well, suddenly everybody knows. Oh, just 12, that's fine. 12,000 students, and the idea here, right, this question of 12, what does this mean that he comes back with 12,000 students? How many students did he amass, did he make every year? 1,000. 1,000 students a year. And that's probably not true at this point, because his first year in yeshiva, he probably didn't know anything. And the second year, okay, fine, he's been here for a year. Third year, maybe he starts to gather small. But really, probably, he amasses these students from year what? 4, 5, 6. So at least 1,000 a year, if not 2,000 a year. What does that tell me about Akiva? What kind of guy is he? Leader. Yeah, he's a leader. Good.
He's
intelligent.
bright.
What?
Bright.
He's smart. He's very, very smart. And he's very, very charismatic. Yes. I think he's very charismatic. You don't amass thousands of students unless you are incredibly charismatic. You have a power. You can pull people to you. Right? He comes back to town and he overhears. He's outside the door. Oh, why can't he just go in the house? Just one little kiss. I don't know. It kills me. Just go into the house. No. He stands outside the door. He hears her say, right? He hears an old man say to her, "How long will you lead the life of a living widow?" Why is she a living widow? Her husband is alive, but it is as if he is dead. Why?
She's waiting for him.
She's waiting.
For him.
Yeah, she's waiting for him. He's not there. He's not fulfilling his obligations to her. I want us to understand he is not fulfilling his obligations to her here. And her response to this guy is, what does she say to him?
I don't care.
Yeah.
So he is not fulfilling everything.
Right, he's not fulfilling, right?
He listens what she says.
Right. And she says, I don't care. More. If it were up to me, he'd go for another 12 years. Another 12 years, fine. Okay, I was fine with the first 12. I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think about this? You think she's telling the truth?
No.
No.
Maybe it's something to say to his father that it is fine to wait for him, that is not a problem to be waiting for him, but of course she wants to give him a kiss and tell him, thank you for being 12 years on the academy. And
Now, come home. That was cute, but that's nice. That's what we're come home now. I wonder about this also because I think there's something about this being a response to someone and not just her saying it. There's a reason why the text, I think, sets it up like that. Someone is critiquing and she responds, but I don't think it necessarily is true. I wonder about this. And Akiva, what's amazing to me is, what does Akiva think?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
12 years.
Okay, amazing. Well, Akiva, what does that tell you about Akiva? He does not
care.
He doesn't
He's
care.
not sensitive. At least we can say, he doesn't say, wait, honey, I'm home. I'll be home for a few weeks. I just want to hang out with you for a little bit. Also, when you said that to our neighbor, did you mean it? Are you serious? There's no conversation. conversation between them. So far, the relationship between the two of them has been her proposing, him accepting, and him leaving. And then him overhearing. It's all the text. It's very, the relationship between, this is Akiva, we saw it already, he's Akiva the lover, right? He doesn't have, I don't feel his sensitivity to her or to her needs at all. I'm so
He's
sorry.
not the saint that we were thinking.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of critique here. I'm so sorry, guys. I only have 10 more minutes. I have to go. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Because we must get to 4, and we have to keep going on in the text. I'm so sorry. Okay, so he goes, oh, great. So then it was with her reshut, it's with her permission I'm acting. Halachically, I'm okay. I want you to notice that. Halachically, I'm okay. Whether or not I'm okay personally, I don't worry about it. I'm okay halachically. I want us to see that. Right? Therefore, I go to the Beit Midrash, and I amass another 12,000 students. Right? Mr. Charisma himself. So what's amazing about that, I think it's so amazing, is I have the charisma to have thousands of students, but I don't have the emotional intelligence to understand what my wife needs. Right? I'm missing that. It's very interesting to me. Then he comes home, 24,000 students, a big homecoming. 12,000 was whatever, so everyone can amass 12,000, who cares? 24,000, I'm a big rabbi, I come back to town with all my students. My wife hears I'm coming to town. She's not gonna go meet him, my husband's coming. Her neighbors say to her, come on, put on a little lipstick, you know? Put a nice dress. You haven't seen this guy for 24 years. And she says, yes, good, Lucas. That's the right sound effect to make. Right? Oh, it's so bothersome what she says here. It's so disturbing what she says. Righteous man. It's so hard. She went from being, right, this important woman
To be a beast.
to being, seeing herself. I want us to see her. The woman who could see his greatness. Her own self-perception has become that she is a beast. Now, we have to take it up a notch. Because this is where it gets, I think, very interesting. Ready? What was Akiva's job?
Shepherd.
Shepherd. What does she call herself?
Beast.
Behemah. Now, that's going to go even further. Can I write it here?
Yes.
Okay. So, just...
Yes.
Don't scare me, huh? Akiva. Oh, I lied to you. Akiva is Aramaic for, switch the letters. Yeah.
Yaakov.
Akiva is the Aramaic version of Yaakov, my friends. Why is that important? Yaakov comes to town, and who does he fall in love with? Rachel. And actually, in many stories, she is given the name Rachel. So I want you to notice that actually what this is it's a Talmudic version of the story of Yaakov and Rachel. But it's the exact opposite, because in the Torah, Yaakov comes to town, Rachel can't get the stone off, he moves the stone, they fall in love, right? A beautiful romantic story. In this case, right, she, Rachel, even though it's not her name in the Babylonian text, it's only her name later, but Rachel sees Akiva, and that he needs water, he needs Torah, right? You see that, my friends? It's an amazing, so when she says, the righteous man knows the life of his beast, what she's saying is, it's true. Originally, I was Yaakov, and he was Rachel, but now he's Yaakov. He knows me. He's my shepherd, and right. And that's part of what's going on here with the beast. Which those of you who said that this is a beautiful story about her ability to see him, this is a confirmation of that. He knows who I am. I don't have to put lipstick on. I don't have to put makeup on. I don't have to care about the externals. He knows who I am, just like I knew who he was. We have a deeper relationship than any of the physical. Except, my friends, I'm very disturbed by that read of the story. Because she still calls herself a beast. And here's the part of the story that really hurts me. Ready? She comes to see him. And she falls down at his feet. And his students come to push her away. Because an old beggar lady has been pushed away. Right? It's very bothersome to me. Because it means that Akiva was very charismatic, and he was very wonderful, a great teacher of Torah.
But he never talked about her.
He never talked about her. And he never taught them, it's even worse I think, how to treat an old beggar lady. He taught them all the Torah in the world, but when a beggar woman comes before a rabbi's feet, you don't push her away. Right? And he says to them, what? What's wrong with, do you know who this is? This is my wife, I only exist because of her. Except it's 24 years too late. He's too late now. I'm going to be even more critical. Ready? Because I have to end. Okay, I'm ending now. Source number 4 on your page. I want you to see something. What happens to these 24,000 students? Rabbi Akiva said, a person who enjoyed their youth, ready? Are you with me? Skip into the second paragraph. They said, Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of students, i.e. 24,000 students. What happened to them? They all died during one period because they did not treat each other with respect. Lo nahagu kavod ze lazeh. That's why we have in Sfirat HaOmer, we have mourning, right, to remember, right, the students of Akiva who died. Guys, I want you to see this. It's incredibly important. Source number 4. What happens to those 24,000 students that Akiva amasses during the time that he leaves his wife? What happens to them? They all die. It's very harsh critique. It's a very harsh critique there. Okay? But there's something incredibly important about what is being said here, which is, when you teach Torah without respect, when you allow yourself to forget your wife at home and focus only on your students to the point where she goes from being this great visionary to seeing herself as a behemoth, as a beast, the story I think is saying to me, the result of that is your students won't last. We don't have to be so extreme as to say die, God forbid, okay? But there's a point here of Akiva's Torah was missing some kavod zelazeh, some respect. He didn't teach his students kavod. So that when an old beggar woman walks up to them, they don't know how to deal with her. He didn't teach them that, and any Torah that is taught without kavod zelazeh being the most important thing, I think the Talmud is saying to us, won't last. And so the question came up, why do we learn these stories? Why are we teaching these stories? Is this true? I think what's really interesting to me is to see how the rabbis are struggling. I have these two values, I'm struggling with which one wins. But the conclusion perhaps of the Talmud is, the most important thing, even if I do leave my wife, is that I have taught my students how to treat each other. And when I don't do that, when I don't teach them how to treat each other, and when I don't teach them how to treat old women or my wife, right, then my Torah won't last. And so Rabbi Akiva has to rebuild. He has to rebuild with just 5 students, with personal relationships. Not 24,000 students where I can't know your name, but I rebuild with 5 students the entire corpus of Torah. And with that, I'm going to end. Thank you so much.